Hi, first of all, I'd like to say to everybody Happy New Year. And then I'd like to share with you just some of the results I've been getting from the trend jumper trade plan for the EU Euro FX futures over the last week. Even though we had New Year's Day in the middle of everything and it was a modified open on Thursday, there have been some pretty good results. First of all, we had this early setup on Monday. By the way, the green dotted line is 3 a.m. Eastern Time, which is when I start the plan. So the first setup occurred. This is discretionary to an extent in the fact that I'll ignore some setups and take others. One of the rules for ignoring a setup is not to take it the first setup if an EMA is flat on a continuation of an already large move, and we can see that the market had retraced that earlier push higher quite a bit already, and the same goes for the second setup here. So I actually was looking for a reversal, and you can see that this started to happen into this early jump line cross setup. Now, it wasn't a huge trade, but it doesn't have to be, and it resulted in plus 13 and just a scratch on the trailing position. Moving on to Tuesday, we can see that there was a very early setup. It pretty much happened in a straight line. It was no real issue with this one apart from the fact that we didn't really get a particularly good trailer. You notice that it's not hugging on the trailer, it's not hugging the jump line 9. That's because I have been using a slightly different setting on this, and I will adjust it on time to time perhaps as well. In this case, it might have been better just to trail the pink jump line, just because you can see that it's reacting there, and it's very, very clearly in quite a fast move down. So perhaps it would have been better in this case, and this would be a case where I would do it. I didn't. But it still made plus 16 and plus 2. So that's not bad either. Obviously moving on to Thursday. Now Thursday was this modified open, and so although there was this early setup and it looks fantastic on paper, it just wasn't a setup that I was going to take. There's the first bit of trading action in the new year, and I decided that it's better just to back off, see what happens. Okay, it would have worked. It would have worked fantastically, but it's just not one that I was going to take. So if this was going to continue, there would be more setups, obviously, and there's a possibility of trailing it further. In the event we did get another setup for a continuation, and it was pretty decent. It didn't trail, but another plus 10 and plus 1, so that's plus 5.5 per contract per lot. And then moving on to today, so there was an early setup, and I'm not really keen on these especially when the EMAs haven't really started to move apart that much. It's kind of like folding back over itself on a prior on the prior candlestick. It's not a big setup anyway. It's just not one that I'm keen on. So I left that in the hopes that there would be a further push and that I could get on that trade if it did. If it did do that, that's exactly what it did. There was an entry at 45, but I wanted to adjust around this swing here. It didn't end up working out, unfortunately, and you know, this happens. It just tagged out on that trailer, even though the trailer's slightly longer than it would normally be. It's 12 instead of 9 in this case. It just didn't happen. It tagged out for +2 on both positions, and then it went and it got to target. But that's one of those things, and that meant that there was going to be another trade. Now you can see in this case, let me just get the commentary up, there was a pretty decent separation between the two EMAs at this point, and this is one of the situations where you would potentially take a crossover against the directions of the EMA, the 50 EMA, and you can see it was starting to turn already, and we'd had a double test lower, which in actual fact probably means that it's going to retest this area at some point anyway, but the very fact that we have this separation, it's thrusted up, it's not a huge move, it was worth taking. So the only caveat here was that the target, the T2, was just coming into the 200 EMA. The problem is that it's not necessarily going to react every time, but you know, if it does, you know, you're watching it for your for any kind of resistance, and that's just what I was doing in this case, and I adjusted that to 53 instead of 55. You can see it got to 55. The 200 EMA was roughly about 54, and that's what I got. So it wasn't a huge trade, and then +2 on the trailer. Again, you know, nothing blockbusting here, but just good, solid performance. And overall, on the week, shortened week, over holiday day, it was plus 28 ticks per lot, which really is not bad at all. And if you're doing 2 positions, a 2 lot in this case would be plus 56 ticks, $12.50 per tick on the full 6E contract. That's not bad at all. So it just goes to show that this is a product which is performing well, and got high hopes for it for the new year. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.